Hi everyone, my name is Jenna Calhoun. I'm going to be talking to you today about empirical evidence. And I want you to think about a conversation you've had with someone when they just got back from a vacation and they're super excited and they share all the details and they're bragging and super fun, all the activities and the food and culture, all the stuff they experienced. And you want to go to this place. So you book a trip and you go and you experience it firsthand and make direct observations for yourself. That is an example of empirical evidence. Empirical evidence is data collected through direct observations. I had the same chance to do that when I was in Spain last summer for 3 weeks. And before I went to the trip, or went to Spain, I was asking people all about it, and they were telling me, their own experiences with the food and the culture and traveling in general. And I just wanted to get there and experience it for myself and just see what it was all about. So I went there and I was locked out of my hostel for the first 12 hours, and that was very scary. So I had culture shock, and I was surrounded by people that I only understood so much of what they were saying. And the food was not my type of food, it was seafood because of the coastline that Spain has. And then I realized that it's a staple in the house in Spain to have jamon, which is a meat, cheese, and bread, which was phenomenal. Everyone always has food. And I got to see amazing architecture and arches and stained glass in the cathedrals, which were so old and beautiful, and they just make you feel so small because it's just so massive and just breathtaking. So it was phenomenal. I had an amazing experience in Spain, despite all the hurdles. But it was a phenomenal country, and I'd love to go back. So now that I've kind of told you a little bit more about my own personal empirical evidence experiences, I want to make a few inferences. And that would be that I believe that the concept of empirical evidence is very straightforward. When a person is trying to understand something or learn something, they should understand it from their own perspective. Yes, it is good to gain information from general sources or other people, but to have that direct observation is very crucial. I believe that through direct observation, you could have more of an emotional experience as well. If you're there, you're going to experience it more so than and have emotions react rather than reading someone else's, interpretation or experience that they had at that same situation. So I believe that it's very crucial if you can to have direct observation. And I feel like when gathering empirical evidence, it can, like I was in Spain, I was flooded with emotions. And my experience was so different than everyone else's that I had talked to. I was overwhelmed because I was locked out and I didn't know anything that was going on and we had no plan. Where other people could have had, a great, easy time in the beginning. So it really is about direct observation and having your own experience to really learn a deeper and richer knowledge about what the situation is. Now that I've had a few inferences about empirical evidence, I want to explain another situation that it could come into play, and that would be in my professional life rather than my personal life. I am a waitress, so when I learned how to do the job and I got trained, it was through direct observations completely. There was no option for anything else. I learned the food menu on the iPad, but through the waitressing program, I had to follow someone around and watch exactly what they did for 7 days straight. It was direct observation. So I feel like that is a notable example of empirical evidence because that's the only way I learned how to do my job, and I'm still doing it almost 3 years later, and I love it. So now that I've made those few inferences and explained kind of how it can be implemented in different aspects of life, not just personal, professional, it can be in everyday life. And I believe that through the grocery store or academics or whatever it is, empirical evidence is everywhere. We are constantly observing and taking in information and processing that and making assumptions or making observations. So I feel like empirical evidence is very crucial to life. In conclusion, learning about empirical evidence provided me with a new insight. I look at things completely different. I want to be more active and tenacious in how I process information and how I take the initiative to get data. And I feel like we can just really learn to get more rich information through direct observations. And as stated by the Dalai Lama, to defy the authority of empirical evidence is to disqualify oneself as someone worthy of critical engagement in dialogue. So remember that and have a great night, guys. Bye.